this is P4L. In today's P4L review, we'll be taking a look at the newest figure from Mastermind Creations and their reformatted line. This is their R29 Aero Alpha, their version of Wing, and he is a swordsman. If you guys aren't familiar with Wing, I'm not really either. I guess he comes from the backstory of Drift, but I don't really know a lot about this character. All I know is he kind of is a samurai badass. So, let's go ahead and get started with the packaging review, as always. And you do get this standard reformatted line box. Again, no flip cover, which is always a bummer. I always kind of like that. You do get this really nice render on the front. Some product images here and here with a render. And then you get, again, Aero Alpha Swordsman as the title of this character. On the back is where you get a lot of the promo shots, like the alt mode, which is, I think, really nice. They redid this quite a bit. This and their beta or drift, they revamped it a lot. They do share similar transformations, but they are also different in a way that I think it's enough of a difference where it's worth getting both molds. But you get a lot of action shots of him. He does come with two sets of heads. They only show the white one on here right now, but he actually comes installed with the red one, which we'll see in a bit. Do they have the red one at all? No, they don't even have the red one installed, which is kind of weird because that's the one it comes installed with. In any case, that's it for the packaging. So here is Aero Alpha out of the box. And sorry about the glare here, but you do get the standard stuff. Again, another comic book / instruction manual. Here's the comic on the back and instruction manual here. And they do a pretty good job of showing the transformation. It's fairly simple, but actually pretty fun. And then they also show you Hardball, I guess their version of Warpath, which will be coming down the line. I don't remember them having a IDW version of the character ever shown, but I guess they're going with that. But I'm not going to spoil the comic for you guys, so let's go ahead and look at the rest of the contents. So first off, I will say that he does come partially mistransformed to be a little bit more compact. So before we even get started, let's actually take a look at this. So the first thing we'll do is bring these side wing pieces, or I don't even know what you want to call them. Bring them forward and then you go ahead and flare them out, or you can keep them sleek and to the side, but I think they're supposed to be flared out for the most part. And let me try to get this white balance down a little bit so it's not overly white. There we go. But yeah, from here, this is what he looks like in alt mode, and you can do a couple of things here. I'll actually have his head turned around backwards. That should be the other way, so it's a little bit more hidden. Either way, you can do that. The landing gear here is a little bit hard to get to between his legs near his crotch area, but you can go ahead and fold that out. And there we have Aero Alpha in his alt mode. He does come with a stat card, as always. Really nice plastic glossy render, and we do get a picture of Aero Alpha there and his stats. His accessories, he comes with two swords that are chromed out. They look very nice. They do have some nice molded detail, a little bit of paint, and then these little notches, which you'll need for storage in this mode. We'll show that off in a second. He also comes with a sword that you create or like merge together. There is a specific orientation. You can see one is more of a tapered side. You want to have the blade edge facing towards the left of this blade. So there's a peg on the other side for storage, but you go ahead and do that. Don't plug in the other way, you're going to get damaged. But for now, we'll see. The reason why it separates is, again, for storage. So let's go ahead and store these. There's a peg hole here for this hilt. And then there's this kind of slot with a notch that goes along this kind of groove. And again, it is oriented a specific way. You do want to have it so the blade is facing inward. The cutting edge is facing inward. These two blades will go in like this. Cutting blade facing inward. And they tab into these little double tabs here. I do find this one on this side. Oh, I guess I wasn't just pushing enough. I kept finding it to be a little loose, but I guess that works. I mean, it's kind of goofy to have this kind of storage. I don't think it was wholly necessary, but it is what it is. If you like weapon storage, you got it. If you don't have to use it. So for now, let's pull this out, untab this, and again, these landing gear can fold up, and this head's supposed to be around the other way. I feel like this might look better or instead a little bit flatter this way, but it does kind of, oh, I guess it doesn't really. But then you get exposed tips. I don't know. I feel like it might look better that way. Who knows? But it's not necessary for any kind of clearance or anything like that. But the alt mode is quite nice. I really like it. I kind of dig it. I don't know. It kind of has, I don't want to say Gundam look to it, but kind of like it reminds me of a kind of Gundam Wing with these flared out pieces. And I think they do a better job with the chest, making it look a little bit more sleek than with their beta, at least in my mind. It does have a little bit of playability in the sense you can lift up the cockpit. I don't know if you can fit in there, but you can fit maybe Spike, Masterpiece Spike laying down or something like that. The paint apps are actually quite nice. They're pretty clean. On mine though, I did have some scrapes here. You probably can't even see it, but in the right light, you'll see that some of the paint is like scratched off on this section here. Definitely not anything for me to worry about, but you guys might notice. Other paint apps here are super clean. The red, the black, the red lights here, some gray details, and I do have a little bit of a paint scratch on the crotch piece, so again, a bit of a bummer. But the head itself, which we'll look at a little bit later, is really well molded and has pretty clean paint apps. Speaking of heads, let's actually go ahead and zoom in on the alternate head, and it does transform. These kind of flare out after it comes out of storage, and this is the head that I'll probably use for the most part. I think he's more identified with the all-white head, and it comes on a ball joint. You don't have to unscrew anything. We'll show that off. It is super sharp though. These pieces are really sharp, so when you pop it off and pop it on, just be a bit careful. And again, we'll just go ahead and combine this accessory now. I don't have any alt mode figures near me that really make a lot of sense. I don't even, where's my streak? Oh, there he is. He's just pushed back on the shelf. My trusty streak, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm sorry, I didn't even think to transform an IDW figure. He's about 1 1/4 streaks long and maybe 2 wide, depending on how you flare out the wings. And then I have a red Bumble. We're not even going to bother showing that off. So sorry about the lack of preparation there. But otherwise, this the alt mode doesn't have any other kind of playability. Yeah, the back looks really nice. I like these kind of conical thrusters or whatever that is. So let's go ahead and get transformation again. The transformation is pretty simple, but pretty cool as well. The first thing I'd like to do is actually deal with these pieces. I just kind of fold these in. Again, if you want to make it a little bit more sleek, you can do that. And then these are on double hinges that will rotate back, tab in there. Same thing on this side. The next thing I like to do is actually deal with the cockpit. So you want to pull up on the cockpit and then pull up here as well. Just be careful, don't pull up too hard on that. Just to release these 2 tabs. And this is on a double hinge, and eventually it's going to come down. But you want to unlock that for now. Next up, let's go ahead and flip these pieces up. Now I'll let you get access to these legs that will come untabbed in a bit. Lastly, up here, we're going to flip this out. Flip these gray pieces open and out for now. At this point, we can flip down this piece, which is optional, but you're going to need it for weapon storage in robot mode. So let's go ahead and just do that now, even if you don't want to. And now we can actually get into kind of the transformation. So first thing we'll do is kind of pull out on the legs. I actually like pulling out on this piece a little bit first. It's the toe that's tabbed in here. I think it's a little bit safer to go ahead and do that. And then you pull out. And just pull out just about like this much, 30 degrees or something like that from these tabs here. Let's leave that for now. The next part, we're going to pull out on these tabs that were tabbed in the side, and the shoulders are on double hinges and a ball joint. Well, a single hinge and a ball joint that allow you to rotate it out the way. All right, let's just leave this kind of like this. Come over here, we'll split the entire fuselage essentially and rotate them up to the sides, out to the sides, and rotate them up just like this. And the reason you want to do this is just you need to rotate the waist 180 degrees before you can get everything else situated. So now that everything is kind of out of the way and untabbed, now we can start kind of building the figure itself. So the first thing we'll do is open the chest, flip this down. This peg will go into the back. These out the way. These side gray pieces that we flipped open will just close and lock the chest, the back plate into place, and then we can go ahead and flip the chest closed and those peg in. The head was supposed to be backwards. My apologies. It would be facing this way, and then you just need to rotate it 180 degrees to face the correct way, and you can flare out the head crest, the side crests. All right. From here, you can go ahead and pull out on the arms. Rotate them into the right place, rotate the wrists, and then you can close this front cover down. Same thing on the other side. Flip this down, and you got the shoulders situated however you'd like, a little bit higher, a little bit lower, whatever you want. With the legs, the first thing I'd like to do is go ahead and pull out on these pieces that almost look like kneecaps, but they're not, they're on the back side. You want to rotate it on this ball joint and lay it flat, or at least as close to flat as possible on the back of the leg. And again, it's connected by with one little tab here. It just kind of rests in place. That will give you the clearance to go ahead and extend the knees. They kind of flare out sideways, kind of an odd joint, but they do tab close so that you don't like break into them. Kind of like a MP39 side swipe. He has a kind of similar mechanism. Then we just finish off with the toes and feet. Go ahead and straighten out the toes. And there are two joints here, one in the calf almost. You want to pull that forward, and then the big ball jointed ankle that you want to straighten out. And the heel you just flip around so that you have a flat bottom foot. Same thing on this side. Go ahead and just push forward on that. Rotate this around. And with the back skirt, you can do a couple ways. You can either leave it flat like this, or you can rotate it up on that double hinge and make it sit a little bit higher. It really doesn't matter all that much. This way will interfere with some waist articulation and the sword storage, so maybe just keep it down. It's not too much of an eyesore, although I think it does look kind of goofy. Maybe just flare it back if you want, along with the scabbards. That might make the most sense. So yeah, there we go. We have Aero Alpha, or Wing, in his robot mode. Pretty cool transformation. I really liked it. The actual silhouette itself of this figure looks quite good. No like big gaps or anything like that. This is the only thing that's kind of unsightly, and maybe the size of these scabbards, right? They're really long, very reminiscent of the Generations. Is it Generation? Yeah, I think Generations drift. Similar to the Generations drift, you do have swords that go ahead and slide into there, but they're way longer than the swords are, so way longer than they need to be. You can obviously hold these as well, but that's kind of I think that's kind of self-evident. Same thing with this sword. The peg is kind of unsightly, so I usually have him hold it in the left hand. But like I said, back here with that slot that we revealed, if you want to keep that slot hidden in a slightly cleaner backpack, you can do that, but go ahead and flip that down if you want kind of a back scabbard or sheath for the sword. It's a really tight fit, so just be careful. You don't want to damage this nice chrome on the sword itself. That's one of the really nice features of this figure. Before we get into articulation, let's go ahead and look at pulling off the ball joint. The way I do it is I just rotate it to the side and just pull forward, and it pops off. And again, it's really sharp. I'm actually worried I might stab myself. It's really, really sharp. And the ball joint is pretty tough. So putting it on, I almost want to wear gloves. There we go. Whew. Didn't pierce myself. And go ahead and flare out the head crests again. Let's go into articulation, but move this out of the way. So articulation wise, he does have that ball jointed head and go all the way around. Again, if you want the crest to be a little bit closer to the side, that almost looks like Deadlock's head right there. Is it Deadlock? Deadlock. When Drift was, before Drift became a Autobot. Deadlock? I think it's Deadlock. Anyway, we're getting off track here. The shoulders, like I said, are on a hinge, and also this big ball joint. So you get a lot of range of motion on the shoulders. You can get them pretty low and pretty high. These wing pieces or side pieces can flare out in robot mode as well. He does have a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. Because of the way the shoulders are big and massive, he does have some restriction there. He does have a ball jointed wrist and typical MMC reformatted fingers in the sense that the pointer finger is at one pinned hinge separately and the other three fingers are one molded piece, and no thumb articulation on this guy. He does have that waist swivel. No ab crunch, which is a bummer, but I think we're getting spoiled to expect ab crunches with every figure. He does have the scabbards that are on ball joints and on a rotational joint, so you can kind of get them back if you want, around. And if you actually want to get rid of them, you can pop them off if you want to get a cleaner robot look. You'll just have some bony hips and some exposed back parts here. His hip skirts, we showed that off a little bit in the alt mode. They do flip up to get out of the way. And you can get 90 degrees. Get this out of the way. You can get about 90 degrees there. 90 degrees back. It does have a bicep swivel. I really don't like robots that have a rectangular thigh with a swivel because it just breaks up the look a lot. I always preferred it in the socket itself, like a universal. He does have a double jointed knee, which is always appreciated. It's not super deep, but definitely more than deep enough. Way more than 90 degrees. He doesn't have any knee, knee armor articulation. He does have 2 points in the ankle. So again, the one that's kind of like the high ankle joint or in the calf, and then the ball jointed ankle itself. This heel piece, again, it's not really meant for articulation, but you can use it a little bit. And then he has a ball joint on the toe, which can give him a lot of range. So you can definitely do crouching positions if that's what you're into. Like that. Or kneeling, sorry, not crouching, kneeling positions. If you want to do something like that. So I think that's it for articulation. I don't think I missed anything this time. But if I did, just let me know. And then we already talked about the butt flap. You can probably do something like this if you want, but really it's meant to kind of go like this. So give me a quick second, I'll bring out some comparisons. Not a ton of comparisons, but let's go ahead and bring out Calidus. So he stands about head to head with Calidus. Come on, I really need to get a new surface that's actually hard and not foamy. But you can get an idea that they look really good together. Here is the Takara Legends Generations Drift. You can see much tinier. But again, very similar in terms of accessories, like the swords here look very much the same. So yeah, those are the only comparisons I'm going to do. Let's go ahead and get transformed back into alt mode and finish off the review. All right. So the first thing we'll do is actually, you know what? Let's actually do the waist first. Let's just get that out of the way, because it's always something that I forget to do. And there are certain things that if you go to do some of the transformation, you're gonna have to backtrack if you forget to do some of that stuff. So let's just go ahead and rotate it first, and then we'll deal with the lower legs. The first thing I like to do is go ahead and transform the foot again. Flip the heels around. Rotate on that ball joint and ink that calf joint, whatever you want to call it, like that. And then flip the toe down 90 degrees. Same thing on this side. Rotate that up. There we go. I'm going to straighten out the leg. And then we're going to kind of break it at 90 degrees here. Before we get too far, let's go ahead and deal with the head, because we want to hide that. That's one of the parts that I said you have to be wary of. Go ahead and flip open these side pieces. Untab the back. Go ahead and flip this down right now before you forget, and flip these in. And once you get the chest open, you can go ahead and fold in the fins. Rotate the head 180 degrees if you want. Flip it around and close it up. All right. Next thing we'll do is bring these two halves of the scabbards, or two scabbard pieces, cut them, make two halves of the fuselage, essentially. Oops, pop this off the ball joint. Come on, let's get back on. There we go. Tab the two halves together. And go ahead and tab in the cockpit portion, or cockpit cover, whatever you want to call it. All right, here we can go ahead and rotate these pieces down and around, and they tab in at the tip here. There we go. And remember, you got to get the leg straight up and make sure the knee is also straight, because that's how these two pieces will tab in to the sides here. We don't really want to do that now, because we want to get these shoulder pauldron pieces situated. So let's go ahead and do that next. Flip this piece all the way up, and then come around to underneath. You want to rotate the arm and the fist and rotate it inside of this gap here. You want to use the lower elbow joint to do that. Next, we're going to use that hinge shoulder joint. And there's a little tab hole here and a tab, dark blue tab on the inside of the shoulder. You're going to just push down on that shoulder joint until that gets tabbed in. Come on, there we go. And we're all good here. Once that's done, come to the back here, flip this up. You can see there's a peg hole there, as well as two tabs that have corresponding tab pieces there. All right, now we can go ahead and tab in the legs at the front, and then be mindful of these tabs on the toes, tab slots on the whole toes that go into the tabs in the front of the shoulder pauldrons. There we go. If you have that all done, you can go ahead and fold these pieces down, and they'll sit right in there. And this is how we started off the review, right? Right out of packaging, it was mistransformed. From here, go ahead and pull these pieces up on the double joints. Come on, there we go. And then flare these out if you'd wish. And then we can go ahead and do the landing gear. And go ahead and hide these if we want. Or store these, I don't know why I said hide. But yeah, that's it for the transformation. Pretty quick and simple once you get it one or two transformations through. The trickiest part is making sure you get the waist rotated at the right time, and making sure you get the head tucked in before you do that. Otherwise, you're gonna have to backtrack because you can't start making the front without hiding the head. And lastly, this piece here. So there we go. So, final thoughts on Aero Alpha. I was really surprised when I first saw these guys. I liked the design, and I thought it looked pretty good. And then when they redesigned it, I liked it even better. But I thought I would really like the drift mold, just because I identify with drift. I don't know who Wing is, but after actually playing with the samples right before TFCon and checking them out, I really like this design a lot. It's a lot sleeker, and again, when you see Beta or Drift, you'll see that the chest kind of sticks out just because of the way Drift's chest looks, and it doesn't look as seamless in all mode. But this looks really nice, and again, with the different configurations you can do with this kind of tucked in, or even if you wanted to pull this out like it was initially, it does have some exposed gaps here, but it almost looks like you have different modes, like a speed mode or something like that, because this one looks a little bit longer and sleeker. So maybe that's the way you could display it. But I like it. I think the options on this look really nice, with the playability with cockpit as well. The weapon storage is like whatever, and the robot mode looks really nice. I think I prefer it. The shoulders are a little big for me, but I think that's kind of by design of the character and the style of the artist that they did that. The paint overall is quite good, even though I have a couple nicks on my sample. And the chrome pieces here I really liked a lot. It looks really nice. So they didn't skimp out there. The extra head is kind of a bonus. I don't know why they really provided the red one, but if you like that one, you have that as well. In any case, final thoughts is, I think you should definitely pick this guy up. He's a cool character. If you like IDW at all, that style, I think it fits in really well. It's an interesting looking character. And again, even though it's a slight remold, there's a lot of differences between this and the upcoming Beta Drift mold. And again, I think I prefer this one of the two. So maybe if you only want one of the two, maybe pick this guy up. If you guys want to order this from Toy Dojo, the link in the description is below. As always, if this video helped you out with your decision or with the transformation, please give it a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. And as always, if you want to keep up to date with my news and reviews, go ahead and click that subscribe button and click that notifications bell, so you'll keep up to date whenever I do release some reviews. Alright, that's all for today, everyone. Hope you have a good one.